Let's dive right into this explainer where we're unpacking George Orwell's brilliant, but honestly terrifying allegory about power, corruption, and the rewriting of truth. We're looking at a story that kicks off on a completely ordinary farm. It's a place where this grand rebellion begins and some truly beautiful hope is born, but where betrayal eventually takes deep, deep root. Now, Animal Farm is a pretty short, sharp fable, but its warning against the seductive pull of totalitarianism, that has remained absolutely crucial for decades.
To really wrap our heads around this story, we've got to ask ourselves one massive central question. How exactly does a utopian dream become a totalitarian nightmare? We're going to track the dark, heavy transformation of Manor Farm to figure that out. As you'll see, this simple little tale about farm animals is actually a profound look at how pure ideals can be completely corrupted from the inside out.
So Orwell didn't just randomly pick these characters. He purposefully mapped his farm animals directly to the key players of the Russian Revolution to show us the raw mechanics of an uprising. You've got the visionary old major representing revolutionary thinkers like Marx and Lenin. Then there are the rival pigs, Napoleon and Snowball, standing in perfectly for Stalin and Trotsky. Add in Squealer as the state propaganda machine, Boxer representing the devoted working class, and Mr. Jones as the overthrown Tsar. And here's a wild fact. Orwell actually struggled to get this published in 1945 simply because the Soviet Union was a crucial British ally at the time. Understanding this hidden structure is absolutely key to unlocking the whole story.
The whole spark of the rebellion begins with Old Major. His emotional speech lays down the foundation for what seems like a perfect future. He paints this remarkably clear picture of humanity as just a parasitic force, declaring that man is literally the only creature that consumes without producing anything. By teaching the animals this unifying revolutionary anthem called Beasts of England, he plants the seeds of resistance and gives them a taste of pure, unadulterated freedom. After a whole weekend of total neglect by the incompetent Mr. Jones, the starving animals just snap. They seize the moment, overthrow him in a completely spontaneous uprising, and establish a utopian society anchored by 7 simple rules. They call this new system animalism. Now, these laws are designed very specifically to prevent the animals from ever adopting the oppressive habits of the humans. Above all else, they decree that no animal shall kill any other animal, and all animals are equal. It's this incredible moment of immense pride and dignity for them.
But you know how it goes. Soaring ideals usually crash right into reality. The mysterious disappearance of 5 buckets of creamy milk marks the very first quiet little crack in their supposedly equal society. Right after setting up their perfect utopian rules, the cows are milked. Napoleon the pig steps in, casually announces he'll personally take care of it, and by the time everyone gets back from the fields, the milk has completely vanished. It's a tiny detail, easily brushed off by the joyful animals, but it signals the immediate beginning of self-interest.
And from that first stolen bucket of milk, things escalate fast. A rapid timeline of tyranny starts to build. Early on, Snowball and Napoleon are fiercely debating the future of the farm, especially Snowball's super ambitious plan to build a windmill for electricity. Napoleon outwardly dismisses it, right? But his real strategy is happening entirely in the shadows. He takes 9 young puppies away from their mothers for special education. A year later, right when the animals are about to vote on the windmill, Napoleon unleashes those now-grown, ferocious dogs. Snowball is violently chased off the farm forever, and Napoleon immediately, permanently abolishes Sunday voting.
Naturally, the animals are pretty freaked out by this sudden loss of their democratic rights, but enter Squealer. He steps up as the voice of the new regime, and he uses this brilliant, twisted psychological trap to pacify everyone. By constantly asking, "Surely, comrades, you do not want Jones back?" he expertly weaponizes their absolute dread of the old human oppressor. He uses their fear to completely justify the new oppressions being forced onto them. Honestly, it's a masterclass in political manipulation.
In response to this really frightening shift in power, Boxer, who, remember, represents the incredibly strong but uneducated working class, adopts a tragic new motto: Napoleon is always right. Alongside his other motto, I will work harder, Boxer throws his immense physical strength into building the windmill, which, by the way, Napoleon suddenly claims was his brilliant idea all along. Boxer's blind trust perfectly illustrates the danger of having deep loyalty without any critical thinking.
Okay, this is absolutely crucial. The pigs start physically moving into the farmhouse, and they begin systematically gaslighting the rest of the farm by secretly rewriting their history. The animals specifically remember a founding rule against sleeping in beds, but when they go check the barn wall, the text has magically changed. The sudden addition of the words "with sheets" completely flips the law. Squealer smoothly convinces them that they merely remembered it wrong, arguing that the pigs desperately need proper rest for their exhausting brain work. Step by step, the truth just becomes totally fluid.
And when reality doesn't go Napoleon's way, he needs a distraction. When a violent autumn storm destroys the half-built windmill they worked so painstakingly on, Napoleon immediately uses the exiled Snowball as a scapegoat. He pronounces a dramatic death sentence on Snowball, blaming him for sneaking in and destroying their labor. From that point on, literally every single misfortune, a broken tool, a ruined crop, is officially blamed on this invisible, traitorous enemy.
The story takes a super dark turn here. The utopian dame is completely washed away in a wave of forced confessions and brutal public purges. When winter brings starvation, Napoleon orders the hens' eggs to be sold. They bravely protest, so he cuts their rations entirely, and 9 of them die. Soon after, absolute terror just takes over. 4 pigs, who simply dared to question Napoleon, have their throats torn out by the dogs. Other animals inexplicably step forward, confess to totally invented crimes involving Snowball, and are slaughtered right on the spot. To seal this new era of trauma, Napoleon officially abolishes their hopeful anthem, Beasts of England.
With a literal pile of bodies at Napoleon's feet, the surviving animals are deeply, deeply confused. Didn't the rules say no animal shall kill another? But as the smell of blood hangs in the air, the weaponization of language is used once again to perfectly justify the horror. They check the wall, and the commandment has been altered to add without cause. The leadership isn't just breaking the foundational rules anymore, they are proactively rewriting reality to make their horrific crimes perfectly legal. Meanwhile, as the internal terror peaks, Napoleon starts playing complex political games with the outside world. He engages in negotiations with the neighboring human farmers, actively pitting them against each other. On one side is Mr. Pilkington, representing the Western Allies, and on the other is Mr. Frederick, representing Hitler's Germany. Napoleon eventually sells timber to Frederick, only to realize he got completely played and paid in forged banknotes. Frederick and his men then launch a massive attack, literally using dynamite to blow the newly rebuilt windmill to absolute pieces.
After celebrating their bloody, devastating victory in this battle of the windmill, the pigs discover a case of whiskey in the farmhouse cellar. Now, the morning after a very loud drunken party, Squealer solemnly announces that Comrade Napoleon is actually dying. But in reality, the supreme leader is just nursing a terrible hangover. Once he recovers, they miraculously update the barn wall to read, "No animal shall drink alcohol to excess." The privileges of the ruling elite just keep silently and hypocritically expanding. But this next part, it's arguably the most heartbreaking moment of the entire story. Boxer's lungs finally fail him after years of literally working himself to death for the farm. The pigs announce they're sending him to a human hospital to get treated. But the sight of the van taking the collapsed Boxer away, it reads, "Horse slaughterer and glue boiler." The ultimate devastating betrayal arrives when the pigs sell their most loyal worker to the knacker, just so they can buy themselves another case of whiskey. And Squealer, acting as the ultimate spin doctor, invents this beautiful, fake story about Boxer dying peacefully in a hospital bed. Fast forward a few years. Most of the animals who even remember the original rebellion have passed away. The farm itself is prosperous, but that wealth is entirely concentrated among the pigs and dogs. And then, the terrifying metamorphosis reaches its peak. The pigs learn to walk upright on their hind legs. They carry whips, and they're accompanied by the sheep, bleating a brand new, corrupted slogan, 4 legs good, 2 legs better. The very definition of their enemy, those who walk on 2 legs, has now become their highest aspiration.
When the terrified animals go to check the barn wall one last time, they find that all 7 of the original commandments have been physically erased. They are replaced entirely by a single grotesque paradox. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. It is the ultimate perversion of language. It takes the absolute core ideal of equality and completely twists it inside out to officially justify a permanent, unchangeable hierarchy of oppression.
Which brings us to the chilling final scene. The pigs invite a delegation of the neighboring human farmers over for a dinner party. They're wearing human clothes, they're using telephones, and they're playing cards together. As the oppressed animals look through the farmhouse window, they realize the revolution hasn't created a paradise at all. It merely replaced the old tyrants with identical new ones. They look from pig to man and man to pig, and it is entirely impossible to tell which is which.
So what should we really take away from all this? Orwell's powerful warning is that the struggle for justice requires absolute, constant vigilance. As you look at the world today, I want you to ask yourself, if tyranny can so perfectly disguise itself as liberation, how do we protect our own truths from being rewritten?
It's a stark reminder that a passive population simply allows those in power to reshape reality to serve their own ends. Stay vigilant out there, and thanks for joining me on this explainer to uncover the dark truths of a truly timeless allegory.